everybody, and welcome back to Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back once again to bring you a few selections to watch over the weekend on streaming. And we're going to jump right into it, and I will throw this over to Paul.
Oh, thank you. Well, my theme this week is family. It's all about family. So my first film, we're going to be doing some driving on the road. Yep, we're going on a road trip with Goofy. It's a Goofy movie from 1995, currently showing on Disney Plus, and it's actually a neat film. It's much better than one would expect. It's much more entertaining, even for adults. And it's sort of a spin-off of the TV show Goof Troop, which is about Goofy and his son, Max. And in this, Max is in high school and blah 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 things. They end up having to go on a road trip. Go on vacation, which Max does not want to go on, and so it deals with sort of the conflict between a teenager and his dad, and them finding respect for each other and understanding each other. It's also goofy, so they have like goofy shit going on, and it's even got some songs which are pretty fun. Hell, it even has a scene with a dancing corpse. You can't pass that up on in a Disney film. It's really fun. It's on Disney Plus. It's a Goofy movie, and from 1995, and it's all about family. And speaking of family, I'll pass this to Bill.
Huh. But before you do that, sorry. Before you do that, I just wanted to emphatically second a Goofy movie. I think it's a movie that's it was totally overlooked when it was released, and now it's become like a bit of a cult hit. I love this movie. I have fond memories. I was like in my early teens when this came out. My siblings and I actually story time here. This episode's going to run long, folks. Sorry. My siblings and I loved this movie when I was a kid. And I remember one summer we were determined to watch it every single day during summer vacation. I think we made it about 6 days in, and so we didn't actually succeed. But we're huge fans. To this day, my sister still gets me Goofy movie themed presents. So, Paul, I'm going to be singing along with you at the end of this episode. So,
good deal. Well,
all right, sorry, go ahead.
But also, you just reminded me that it also does have an appearance by our favorite cryptid, Bigfoot. So there you go.
Oh, wow.
Bit of a spoiler, but there.
That was a sweet story. I was so sure it was going to end with you downloading lots of hentai involving Goofy's wife, who is pretty hot for whatever she is. What are they supposed to be? Are they dogs?
No. Well, obviously you haven't seen a Goofy movie because Goofy is a single father, and that's part of the movie.
I guess I must have been thinking of some other Disney character.
You must have been thinking of the hentai that you were downloading, yeah.
I guess so, yeah. Goofy is a dog, right?
He was originally Dippy Dog. That was his name originally, yes.
And it's interesting to me that, Goofy, he's not the smartest, knife in the drawer. Obviously, he's Goofy, for God's sakes. But, he's allowed to live a life and have a house and everything else. And Pluto, no more a dog than Goofy is relegated to a doghouse in the backyard and can't think or speak or do much of anything, isn't allowed to wear pants. I mean, is that the whole thing? Pants? Put on pants and then, suddenly you're sentient? But no, because
I think, they're not necessarily the same species along the lines of, say, like a chimpanzee.
It's like a chimpanzee.
And
there you go, Jinx.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also, okay, let me say one more thing since we're so far off topic.
Yeah,
if you love a Goofy movie as much as I do, refer back to a show that I've literally mentioned or recommended 3 times on this podcast, because the final season of Atlanta has an entire episode, which is a faux documentary about the making of a Goofy movie, and it is amazing.
Really?
That's the last thing I'll say. Yes, watch it, Paul. It's amazing.
That's great.
All right.
Okay, I swear to God, there was a hot Goofy. Maybe she was in Goof Troop. I don't know. Am I wrong?
Are you thinking about Clarabelle the cow?
Oh my God, what is wrong with you? Clarabelle the cow?
Wasn't that?
Okay, stay tuned for the end of this episode, folks. We are going to rank all of the characters in Goof Troop based on bangability. So stay tuned for
that. The winner and still number 1, Bugs Bunny in a dress. Yeah. So.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Many sexual awakenings from that one.
Oh God.
Wow.
Sorry, Bill.
Really?
Go on, please.
Damn, I
continue.
was
He's
just
actually had a
joking.
number of different people. So her name is his wife's name was either Mrs. Geef or Mrs. Goof, but he's also been hooked up with Clarabelle the cow and
God.
Glory Bee and Zenobia
He's a
and
player.
Sylvia
He gets
Marple.
around.
Oh.
Yeah, he really does. So there you go.
And April from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but boy.
No, that was only the hentai you were watching, Bill. Sorry.
Okay. All right. I figured that seemed like a strange crossover. Well, my theme is movies that my other podcast made me watch that I otherwise would probably never have watched. And the first one is Pigs, aka Daddy's Deadly Darling. But don't put down the
God.
pencil yet, because it has been re-released under more titles than any other film I've ever had to deal with, including Daddy's Girl, The 13th Pig, Blood Pen, Horror Farm, Roadside Torture Chamber, The Killer, The Killers, Lynn Hart, The Strange Love Exorcist, Lynn Hart, The Strange Exorcism of Lynn Hart, and The Secret of Lynn Hart. Yeah. Anyway, most of people know it as Pigs, and from the covers and this description and everything else about it, you think that this is some hicksploitation movie, kind of like Willard with pigs. And I still think that's a good idea, and you can certainly go make it, because Pigs is nothing like that. It is a kind of strange, almost art film. And it's got a kind of a cool story behind it. It stars Mark Lawrence, who, when you see him, he has been in every movie playing a gangster. He just has a face for gangsters. He has been a gangster to everyone from the Bowery Boys to I Love Lucy. I mean, if you needed a gangster, you got Mark Lawrence. And then he was blacklisted during the McCarthy era and went off and made a bunch of European stuff, came back and wrote and directed this film as a star vehicle for his daughter, Toni Lawrence. So he's in it, she's in it. They have a weird kind of father-daughter relationship. And she's not bad. Jessie Vint is also in it, one of my favorites from that era. So she's an escaped lunatic, and she hooks up with this guy who's been feeding pigs corpses. And she's, got a couple screws loose, and people die, and he feeds them to the pigs. But it's just an odd movie. Like, you're not really sure exactly where they were going with this. It's been edited and re-edited. There's at least one version out there that opens with an exorcism, aka the strange exorcism of, Lynn Hart. They open with an exorcism, and then they just do the rest of the movie, and we'll never speak of exorcism again. They did this a lot with movies. I don't know why this one film kept getting re-released with different titles and different edits. Looks like it was edited by a blind man wearing boxing gloves, because you'll see a scene where a car will pull up and somebody gets out and they walk to the fence, and then we immediately cut back to the car pulling in again and the person getting out again. It does this repeatedly. Like, I don't know, they were trying to pad the length or something. I don't know, or they just didn't care. And yet, it's not bad. It's actually kind of okay. It's good. It's just odd. I don't know exactly where they were going with this or what, but it's one of those films that's better than it needs to be. It's got actually some good shots, some good cinematography, and then it's got some terrible cinematography. We can barely tell what's going on. It's like, I don't know. Did you run out of money? Did you have to go with these reshoots? I would love to know the secret behind the making of this film. But anyway, it's on a bunch of things. It's on Plex, I think is where I saw it. I don't see that it's on Tubi, but I can't imagine it's the one film that isn't. Feels like it's fallen into the public domain. You could host a showing of it at your own house. Go right ahead. So that's Pigs, or Daddy's Deadly Darling, or one of a dozen other names. And I will throw this over to a man who has but one name. Zach.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So I got a question before I launch into my first recommendation. I'm looking at the poster of this film, this Pigs. And well, first of all, I love the fact
one of many posters. Yeah.
Yeah, one of many. It's the one on the Just Watch website, and it has. First of all, I love movies that have two taglines. But I'm looking at the second tagline: a madman, a psycho killer, and mean cannibal pigs all together in the scariest film you'll ever see. So, do the pigs eat each other?
No, you see, and I've always had a
That doesn't.
protest about this whole thing,
Yes, thank
cannibal
you.
pigs. It's like, what are you feeding them bacon?
Just
Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention something. When they opened this movie, it gave out free bacon. And
Stop.
they said
Not
most of the bacon was given back by people at the end of the film, because after they watched the film, they're like, "Do I really want to eat bacon from the people who made this movie?"
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying, man eating pigs. They should have just said man eating pigs. Okay,
Sure.
but I'm nitpicking. Anyways, let's get into my first recommendation. And this is one that most people have probably seen, but you know, I'm gonna bring it back because it's one that I feel like it doesn't get talked about a whole lot these days. But you know, some of our listeners may not know. You guys definitely know. Some of our listeners may not know that I've got some serious memory problems. And these are not like medical diagnosed problems. I just have a really shitty memory. So I thought that I would do a couple recommendations on the theme of memory. And so my first recommendation is a movie about a guy who has such an awful memory that he can actually only remember a few minutes in the past. This is a film that kind of launched the career of a little filmmaker you may have heard of named Chris Nolan. The name of the movie is Memento from 2000. It is playing on HBO Max, Hoopla, Canopy, and DirecTV. And for the 5 of you who haven't seen this movie or heard of it, yeah, it's about a guy who is trying to track down the man who killed his wife. Only the catch is that he can only remember a few minutes in the past. So he has to go to great lengths to kind of help remember and assemble all of the clues that he's gathered so far to find this killer. And great cast. The star of the movie, Guy Pearce, who somehow has kind of disappeared from. I don't know. He just never seemed to make it quite as big in Hollywood as I would have expected from movies like this. Also got Carrie Ann Moss and paired with the also another Matrix actor, Joe Pantoliano, or Joey Pants, as his friends call him. Great cast. I love it so much. Also got Stephen Tobolowsky in it as a very kind of interesting pivotal role. So if you haven't seen this one somehow, recommend it. Once again, HBO Max, Hoopla, Canopy, DirecTV. The movie is Memento. And speaking of classics that seem to have gotten lost over the years, let's go to wait. I've forgotten. Oh no, I'm sending it to Renee. I have to be nice. I was about to send it to Paul. Paul, you're right. See now people know how awful my my memory is. Okay, Renee, cut all that out so people don't know that I'm actually have the memory of a 90-year-old. Retake this. Okay,
retake. You can save that one for later.
Thank you. Speaking of people who never made it in Hollywood, like I think they deserve to, Renee, what's your first pick this week?
Man, I tell you, my dreams have been dashed. So, my first recommendation is written, directed, and starring one man, and that man is Josh Rubin. And you're probably thinking, who is that? Well, if you watch this movie, you'll find out. This movie is called Scare Me, and it is available on Shudder. And during a power outage, two strangers, I was going to call them a couple friends. They're not friends, they're strangers. They pass the time by telling each other scary stories. And so this movie is interesting. It's kind of got like an anthology feel because they're telling these different stories. It's just interesting. I honestly, when we watched it over the weekend, I couldn't quite decide how I felt about it, which I think is also part of the reason I'm recommending it, because I'm just curious what other people, what other people are going to think about it. It was really interesting, but it was good, but interesting. It had just really, I don't know. We'll probably elaborate maybe a little bit, because I really have a hard time describing it, but it's pretty good. It's kind of all takes place in this cabin. But they tell these stories, and the sound effects and stuff they use are really neat. So yeah, that's my recommendation. It's called Scare Me, and it's available on Shudder. And Paul, you gonna say anything?
Oh yeah, I thought you were going to pass it to me. I was waiting for you to pass it to me.
Oh, I'll pass it
I
to
second
you,
that.
and then you can tell everyone else about it. Okay.
Awkward.
Yeah, no, I think you covered it. I mean, it's really kind of neat because it's something that could have been very stagey and kind of boring, but the way it's shot, the use of sound effects, and even some interesting little visuals while they're telling these stories keep it intriguing, and the cast is great. So and I second it. I think it's well worth checking out. So you know what else it's worth checking out? Well, I don't know about my second film, maybe. Because my second film, you know what? It's all about family, and you got this family that kind of isn't always on the right side of the law, and you got the head of the family who's bald and likes his wheels. Why, that's right, it's Head of the Family from 1996.
Oh my God.
from Full Moon. Oh my God. Okay. I just want to say this is actually a bit of a piece of trash, but Shelley's the one who told me that I was supposed to recommend this one today.
No, she did not.
Yeah, she did. It is it is so Myron is the titular head of the family and he's the head of the
Titular.
family. Titular. Oh, that's true. Yeah. He is basically a giant head in a wheelchair and with this family of freaks and oh my God, yeah. This is definitely one for the hashtag here come the boobies. Let me tell you. Very much so. Because I remember I had watched it like a long time ago, and then one of our Saturday nights I got Renee and Shelley. I said, oh yeah, we should watch this. And then we were watching, I'm like, okay, I don't remember this being this porny. Okay, not really porn, but it's definitely a very much a Here Comes the Boobies movie. But it's fun in its weird sort of way. I can't say it's the greatest thing in the world, but it just kind of fit because it's all about family. And you know what? My sister-in-law even got us a great little figure of Myron, who's the head of the family in his wheelchair that we have on our bookcase in the living room.
Aw.
So, yeah, it's something. Let me tell you, it is something.
What a great person to get you such great gifts.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, the fun thing is the visuals because it's clearly a guy whose head is sitting in a little tiny wheelchair with little tiny puppet hands.
Oh,
for
thank
most of
you,
it.
magic spoiler.
Yeah. Oh, this movie is it's something. It's something to experience. Oh, where can you experience? You ask it. So it's available on Shudder, Tubi, of course, and Vudu Free. Why, that's Head of the Family from 1996. And speaking of giant heads and wheelchairs, I'll pass this to Bill.
Yeah, why, thank you. Thank you very much. I solved the mystery. I was thinking of, and this just boggles my mind, I was thinking of Peg Pete. The one married to the bad guy, the wife of Peg Leg Pete from Goof Troop.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had no idea what you were even referencing. But yeah,
I knew what it was.
Yeah.
I knew what he's
Okay.
referencing.
Yeah, come on. My mind doesn't wander very far afield. Once I got a question, I'm just like a dog on a chew toy. I gotta this is the golden age of me. I swear to God, Google was invented for me. For you just like, in the old days it was like, I have a question and all I've got is this encyclopedia from 1950 to answer it. I'll just make sure.
I do have to. I admit, Bill, Peg Pete is she's
Pitching.
pretty smoking.
She's pretty smoking hot. Yeah. No taste in men,
Yeah.
but isn't that always the way with the good-looking ones?
Yeah.
I can actually vouch for that. Yes.
Yeah, well, this is true. Yep. So my second film. Okay, so this is one that just sort of fell off my radar, and I mean I was aware of it, of course, and it's been memed to death. Felt like I'd seen it, but I hadn't. It's from 1989, and you can find it on Pluto, Tubi, and Prime. It's Vampire's Kiss. Okay. Nicolas Cage, in a subtle, restrained performance, is basically the boss from hell. He's a lonely guy. His life revolves around money, nightclubs, one-night stands. And then one night he's bitten by a vampire. Or is he? And then he begins to transform into a creature of the night. Or does he? You will be riveted by the action. Or will you? Well, I can answer that question. No. This is a really slow-going slog. There's not a lot of story there. There's one likable character who is just miserably treated throughout this film to the point where you start getting angry about it. It's not that good, and yet it has the most insano performance by Nick Cage as yet captured on film. I have to add that because he's still making films and is fully capable of coming up with another one. But this is the one. If you're looking for unhinged Nicolas Cage, because this is when he was young and they let him get away with murder. Like he shows up for Peggy Sue gets married, I think, and is basically talking like Pokey. In this one, he's got some weird fake English accent. I swear has been, when he's talking, I'm like, oh my God, that's what South Park is doing. That's where they got that line. This movie, no one went to see this movie. Literally, no one went to see it, and yet I see allusions to it over and over again, and it's got that meme where he's just sort of looking at the don't say, which he doesn't actually say in the movie, which is perfect. Actually, it's even more made of that way. He claims that he was basically doing Max Schreck. He was, it's like he was Nosferatu. And back in those days in the silent films, they pretty much acted for the cheap seats. Well, he's acting for people that are in a completely different theater. They're still able to enjoy this performance. It is absolutely nuts. You can't even pick the craziest thing. I'm sure if you went to YouTube and just typed in craziest parts from Vampire's Kiss, there'll be a 45-minute video. They'll just have cut out all the parts without Nicolas Cage. He recites the alphabet. He jumps on tables. He runs down the street screaming, "I'm a vampire." He, accosts homeless people begging to be staked. It's absolute madness. Absolute madness. So it's got that going for it. And although I didn't enjoy the experience while I was watching it last night, it has lingered in my brain since then. And I feel like I'm going to be watching this film again. I'll have to be doing it when Shauna's away somewhere, because if I put this one on again after last night, she will have me committed. It's like, she'll put up with this when I was like, but hon, I have a podcast. I got to do this. I'm like, yeah, but this time you're doing it for air quotes enjoyment. So, yeah, but you know what? In the right frame of mind, it's got a small but growing cult. It's one of those things. And if there's a really fascinating story somewhere on the web, the history, the behind the scenes making it. And except for Nicolas Cage, this film ruined the lives of everyone associated with it. A bunch of young up and coming filmmakers, and after this film, nobody wanted to talk to them. Yeah, brutal. It just, and they're still kind of shell shocked. I mean, it was 1989, and they're still like, I spent 2 years of my life making this film, and all I got was Vampire's Kiss. Yeah. So there you go. It's on Tubi, Prime, Pluto, and I will throw this over to another man known for his subtle wit, Zach.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
It'd be funny. Hey, Zach, by the way, it'd be very funny. I hope I'm not stepping on your joke here, but it'd be very funny if you just did another review for the same film, because you have such a bad memory.
Yeah. You just fucked up my bit. Thank you.
Sorry. We can edit that out.
No, it's way funnier. It's way funnier that you ruined.
God,
it's way funnier. I
am
that
awful.
way.
If you did that to me, I would never forgive you. I would go to my grave resenting it.
Oh no! I've been sitting here this whole time wondering, is that funny? Probably not. It's probably just dumb. But no. So you made it way funnier.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll dispense with that.
Sorry, man.
Oh no! I love it.
Going to hell.
I love it. Ooh. Okay. I will. So yeah, I'll dispense with that bit and actually get into my second recommendation this week. Which is actually a show that I am really surprised that I have not recommended before. I don't know. Somehow I've overlooked this, even though the first season is like one of my favorite things ever. And I'm recommending it now because I'm actually kind of looking forward to the fourth season. Although this one's a bit of a bumpy ride, which I'll get into in a moment. But kind of keeping with my theme of memory, the show I am going to recommend is True Detective. All right. So season 1, I feel like most people have seen this or are familiar with this. But for those of you who are not, it is one of the greatest seasons of television ever filmed, ever committed to TV. It does kind of play into the idea of memory, because it is two cops who were involved in a bit of a weird case several decades prior, and they're kind of recounting the things that happened in this case. And so we kind of go back and forth on the timelines, and the cops are played just impeccably by Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. And this is it starts out as kind of a police procedural. Gets very weird. It owes some stuff to an author that I don't even want to say the author, because it might actually spoil it if you're not kind of familiar with this. So I'll just look it up afterwards, and you can do some research if you like the ending. But anyways, first season, one of the greatest things ever. You can basically skip the second season. It is absolutely not worth watching at all.
Wow.
And then the third season actually also kind of connects to my my theme here, because it is about another cop who is kind of relating a case that he was on many years after the fact. The cop is played by Mahershala. God, I cannot pronounce his name. Mahershala Ali, who is actually, watching this got me very excited for the upcoming Blade film, because he's playing Blade, and he's also conveniently enough, paired with Steven Dorff is his partner. Yeah.
Wow.
Which of course you know from the first Blade. So, anyways, but the twist is that the main character, he is recounting something, and he has Alzheimer's. So you're not quite sure if the things that he's recounting are accurate or not. But so yeah, season 3 is still pretty good. Like I said, you can probably skip season 2, but season 4 is coming up. I'm very excited because it has none other than Jodie Foster playing one of the main characters, which I don't know if she's ever done a TV series. So I think it might be a first. So I'm super excited. It could go either way, but either way, I think it's going to be worth checking out. So if you haven't checked out this show before, definitely worth catching season 1 and season 3, which I'll also mention. These are all totally unrelated. It's kind of an anthology series, but season 3, it like references the events of season 1 at one point. So they do kind of take place in the same universe. Again, don't watch season 2. It's a waste of time.
Wow.
So there you go. True Detective. Great show, great cast of even the second season is shit, but it has a great cast. But yeah, like I said, watch it now, because I hope that season 4 is going to be phenomenal. And speaking of things that are phenomenal, let's go over to Renee for the final recommendation this week.
Oh, I love getting segued to me. It's so nice.
See, I remembered not to be mean that time.
So this is a movie. When I came across it, it's every so often I think I see a movie and I'm like, how have I not recommended this? How did I forget this movie existed? It's kind of what this movie is. This movie is called Dead End. It stars Ray Wise and Lynn Shay and a few other people, but primarily Ray Wise is like the main guy. So they are on the way to the parents' house. Ray Wise and Lynn Shay are married, so it's her parents' house, so it's the in-laws. And he's driving the whole family there, and he decides to take a shortcut for the very first time in about 20 years. And unfortunately, it ended up being a big mistake.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I don't know. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was, fun and goofy, and kind of made me think of a Twilight Zone episode from way back. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It's called Dead End, and you can watch it on Tubi and Plex and Freevee and some other places that I wrote down that I don't have with me. So I'll tell you at the end.
And I can actually, not to interrupt, but I can actually tell people, because I totally forgot. True Detective, for those of you who don't know, is on HBO Max.
Yes. I feel like we've all been skipping out on where people can watch things, but that's okay.
When you said
That's
Dead
all right.
End, I briefly got excited because there is a legendary, possibly lost, possibly never existed horror film called Dead End. People who worked on it have been searching for a copy, since apparently nobody thought to keep one.
Oh, no.
Which immediately sounds sketchy to me, but then I realized if you said, I'm holding a gun to your head and you have 10 minutes to go find a copy of A Few Brains More, it's like, just shoot me. Get the pain over with. I have one somewhere.
I know. I'm waiting for it.
Oh, you are, aren't you?
Yeah.
I need to.
See, when you said Dead End, I was thinking of the Humphrey Bogart movie
Oh,
The thing about this film
that
is
the Dead End kids came from, and then the
Oh.
Dead End kids became the Bowery
that's
Boys.
right.
So.
That's right.
Yeah.
The film, I'm sure, is terrible, but it's kind of infamous that they used real blood and everyone got sick.
oh
It's
God.
just wonderful. It's the best.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know who else was in Dead End?
Who else was
Steve
dead?
Steve Valentine. And you know what Steve Valentine was in?
Where's
Crossing
Steve
Jordan.
Valentine?
You know who was in Crossing Jordan?
No, who's in Crossing Jordan?
Miguel Ferrer. And you know what Miguel Ferrer and Ray Wise were in together?
Oh,
No, what were they in
one of the
together?
greatest shows ever.
Yeah.
favorite
And Twin Peaks and
Oh,
RoboCop.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
They did a Twin Peaks and RoboCop movie TV show.
Yeah, it's a really weird
crossover?
crossover.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It starts out
I
with
missed that one.
Dale Cooper being like, "Diane, I'm in Detroit. It smells of garbage and burning refuse here. I don't know how much more I can take it. I long for the smell of pines and fresh coffee."
That's pretty good.
There you go.
Great. So I heard you guys have something to sing us out on.
I think we're gonna do a duet
I
here.
do. Unfortunately, I'm going to disappoint Zach because I cannot
no.
do Powerline. I'm
No.
I'm sure you're going to want me to sing the song from Powerline. I can't.
Absolutely.
But I was gonna do On the Open Road, which is the one where the dancing corpse shows up. So
Okay. Well, take it away.
So
And stick around after Paul after Renee gives the recommendations. I will do a rendition of probably Eye to Eye, but I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, no, go for it. But yeah, so
No, you go first. You go first.
Okay. Do you need a break from modern living? Do you long to shed your weary load? Somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She's looking kinda dumb with her finger and her thumb with the shape of an L on her forehead. Wow, there you go.
Ooh,
That's actually been stuck in my
Somehow.
head for like the past week or two. Just to let you know, in Goofy's voice.
Wow. Well,
somehow you took a bit that you've been doing for 2 years and you made it even worse.
Thank you.
For the weekend of February 24th, Bill recommended Pigs, or Daddy's Deadly Darlings, available on Plex or Cult Pix, and Vampire's Kiss, available on Tubi, Pluto TV, Canopy, and Redbox. Paul recommended A Goofy Movie, available on Disney+, and Head of the Family, available on Shudder, Tubi, Aeroplayer, and Vudu Free. I recommended Scare Me, available on Shudder and Tubi, and Dead End, available on Tubi. Zachary recommended Memento, available on HBO Max, Hoopla, Canopy, and DirecTV, and True Detective, Seasons 1 and 3, available on HBO Max.
All right, go for it, Powerline.
Oh, God. All right. If I could make you stop and take a look at me instead of just walking by, there's nothing that I wouldn't do if it was getting you to notice. All I need is half a chance, a second thought, a second glance to prove I got whatever it takes. It's a piece of cake. To stand out above the crowd, even if I gotta shout out loud. 'Cause mine is the only face you'll see. Gonna stand out. Notice me. Okay, there you go. I'm done. I'm sorry.
So glorious! Oh, I love it.
So you notice me.